What up, my fellow dorks? The Turtle Dork here with a new review for you. So this week I have for you Mother, the new film from Darren Aronofsky starring Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem, Ed Harris, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Where to begin? Okay, let me just say that I originally was not going to go see this film because I don't know, something about it, I was just on the fence about going to see this film. So leading up to the release, a lot of my fellow dorks went to go see it, and some other friends in our circle went to go see it, and they started talking about it on social media and Twitter, and the conversation was getting really, really interesting. So I told myself, I was like, you know what? I want to be part of the conversation, so let me just go ahead and check this movie out. And I like Darren Aronofsky. I like a lot of his films. Requiem for a Dream, at one point, was one of my favorite films of all time. Not the favorite film, but one of my favorite films. So I definitely like his storytelling techniques, his style, and the way he tells stories. So I said, okay, let me go ahead and check this film out. So my experience with going to watch this film, the movie, you're engrossed into this movie from literally the very first frame, and this movie never lets you go from the first frame to the last, and even through the credit sequence. It's an enthralling experience. It leaves you in awe. It leaves you in awe, it leaves you shocked, it leaves you confused, it leaves you bewildered, it leaves you thinking, it leaves you in many, many states. So it's a film that if you understand what Aronofsky is doing here, it could deeply affect you in a negative or positive way. Before I kind of get into the meat of the film and what my interpretation of the film is, let's get more so into some of the technical aspects of the storytelling and some of the narrative choices that Aronofsky was making in this film. I gotta say that I really, really was interested in the way that he was telling the story. The movie the camera stays with Jennifer Lawrence. The camera never leaves. It never leaves her side, whether it's from behind, over the shoulder, right in front of her. And I like that we're seeing this film from her point of view. So when she's peering around a corner, or if she walks into a room, when two people are having a conversation, you come into that conversation in the middle of that. So everything is told from her perspective, and we're following her journey of this story. There's maybe like one or two shots where you actually get a wide shot, or you actually see the camera go away from Jennifer Lawrence just for maybe a second or just for a shot. But 99.9% of this film, the camera stays with her, and we're seeing this whole story told from her perspective. So I appreciated that kind of storytelling technique. It was something different. It's something that while watching the film, you definitely kind of pick up on if you're kind of in tune to that kind of stuff. Another thing is just the performances. I thought the performances were fantastic. Jennifer Lawrence, say what you will about her as far as her phoning in performances, but when she's dialed in, especially some of these smaller films, she really does bring it, and she brings like everything that she has into this role. Javier Bardem, I thought was really good. Even Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer. It's really, really cool to see Michelle Pfeiffer in this role, and she plays a bitch of a character, but she's really, really effective in the portrayal of her character. So I thought the performances all the way around were really, really strong. So this is a movie that you can't take this movie literally. This is a metaphorical and allegorical film, and basically Darren Aronofsky is using this film to voice his frustrations about the world that we live in today. And if you know anything about, let me back up. Okay, so this is an interesting film. This is a really interesting film. So what I was able to kind of pick up on while watching the film, and granted, a lot of times when I watch a film, especially a film like this, that there's a shock value to this movie, and a lot of the times watching certain things that were happening in this film, I was just shocked. So it's kind of noted with a lot of my friends when I go see movies that sometimes stuff may go over my head or I may not get it. And I was picking up certain things in this film, but I wasn't really connecting it until I got to the end of the film. And when I got to the end of the film, a lot of the things that I was thinking, I kind of realized was really what some of these allegorical theories that I was thinking was actually really happening. Especially when you see the end credits and you see the name of these characters, because that's one thing when I watch a film, I always look for who are the names of these characters, and throughout the film you really never get, another character never calls another character by their name. But so when you see the credits, the characters' names are Jennifer Lawrence plays Mother, Javier Bardem plays him, Ed Harris plays Man, Michelle Pfeiffer plays Woman. And let me just read the synopsis of this film. A couple's relationship is tested when uninvited guests arrive at their home, disrupting their tranquil existence. So what I was able to kind of pick up on is that this is kind of Darren Aronofsky's retelling or interpretation of the Bible. And we get a lot of these different stories, and these characters represent a lot of these characters from the Bible. Now, I don't want to get into spoilers, so I'm not going to get into specifics about what's actually in the film, but I'm going to give you what my interpretation of some of the things that I saw, but I'm not going to explain like where it fits in the story. So what I kind of gathered as I got towards the end of this film is that Javier Bardem is a representation of God. Jennifer Lawrence is the representation of Mother Earth, and we have Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer, which I kind of picked up on when you see kind of their story as Adam and Eve. And we get the way this story kind of plays out, we get just like the fables in the Bible, we get the story of Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden. We see the forbidden fruit. There's also stories about Noah's Ark, Cain and Abel, Revelations. All these things are kind of wrapped into this movie, and it's interesting to see how Darren Aronofsky tells this story and where he kind of falls. Now, I have to say that it is well noted that Darren Aronofsky is a non-believer. He is an atheist. And I know there was a big hoopla when he directed the film Noah, because Noah is, the story in the Bible of Noah. And I remember reading articles coming from a lot of different groups who were really upset that, how can you have a non-believer direct, this story of Noah? And I don't know, maybe part of me feels like Darren Aronofsky is letting out his frustrations from maybe that experience. And he said he wrote this movie in 5 days. So it felt like he had a lot to say. I don't want to get too deep into that point because this is not the platform or the forum to really delve that deep. I'm sure when we do our podcast, which will probably be up sometime next week, we'll delve deeper into that. But I really kind of just want to give my overall interpretation of how I saw the film, and really kind of. These are touchy kind of subjects to really delve into deeper. So I kind of want to save that and really try to just kind of focus on the film. So with that being said, I found this story wildly fascinating. I was absolutely fascinated by this story, and it took me I had to really kind of process this movie. I'm actually still processing it, and I really just don't know how I ultimately feel about this film. And I don't even know if I can recommend this movie to people. I would say if you're a person who likes to theorize about film, who's a cinephile, I would say check this film out. But to kind of like the layman moviegoer, your average moviegoer, especially somebody that's going to be throwing down money to go see this movie, I don't feel like, for me, I could recommend this movie for them. But it's interesting. I want to delve deeper into this. I really do. But we get a lot of those different elements from the Bible in this film. And this, like I said, this movie is not to be taken literally. You really have to look at it just as the Bible, these fables, these stories that are being told. And there are some horrific moments, definitely towards the end, which there's one thing that is done, and I'm sure if you go see this movie, when you see this movie, when this happens, towards the end of this film, I don't know. It's like, did you really have to go there? But I guess knowing what this movie is, I don't know. This is a hard film to kind of really wrap your head around. But just like with the Bible, I think this movie can be interpreted in many different ways. Just like in the world we live in today, people use the good book to kind of, push their own agendas or interpret it in their own different ways. I also think that this movie, even outside of some of the religious allegories that's being told, can be looked at in many different ways. I think this film also is speaking to stuff like climate change and how we as human beings are constantly destroying the planet and where we live. I think this movie is also speaking to the obsession of social media, the ideal of wanting to be liked by everybody around us, which also plays into a lot of the allegories of the Bible as well. But I think if you look at it in a very different and kind of skewed way, you can relate that into the world that we live in today. Again, Darren Aronofsky is really using this film to make a statement, to bring a social commentary about his frustrations about what he's seeing in the world. I think it speaks to like cult and just religion as a whole, all different religions, and how these different religions are basically destroying the world that we live in. I don't necessarily believe that, but these are things that I'm kind of picking up on in this film. This movie there's a lot of wild and bold ideas, whether I agree with them or not. I was able to really pick up on a lot of things and really try to kind of break down how I thought this film was being interpreted by Darren Aronofsky. It's a film that's definitely going to be polarizing for a lot of people. You're either going to I don't even want to say you're going to love this film, but you're either going to like, appreciate, or respect this film, or you're just going to totally dismiss or hate this movie. I feel like it's going to be one or the other. But I feel like this is a film that I think when we look back at this movie 10, 15, 20 years from now, this, I feel like, is going to be an important movie to watch, regardless of what side of the fence you fall on. I think it's going to be an important film to study, and an important film that's going to bring about conversation and to open up conversation about whatever our different beliefs are, whatever our different ideas are about this world in a whole. So I gotta say that I'm absolutely fascinated by this movie. I still am trying to figure out where I fall as far as me really liking this film. But I will, as far as with a score, I will say that I will give this a solid, I'll give this a C. I'll just give this a straight 70 out of 100. It kind of rubs me the wrong way in a lot of ways, but I appreciate the filmmaking aspects of this film. I appreciate the storytelling techniques. I appreciate that Darren Aronofsky, as a filmmaker, is able to tell a story that he wants to tell in the way that he sees fit. I don't believe that filmmakers need to censor themselves, regardless if they receive backlash or not. I feel like they should have the opportunity to express themselves freely and the way that they want to. So those are my initial thoughts for the film Mother. If you've seen the film, please let me know what you thought, what you pulled away from the film, your own interpretation of the film. Please let me know that in the comments below. And go ahead and rate, like, subscribe, and share. And go ahead and check out my other dorks, at Mouth Dork, at The Disco Dork, and at Sidewalk Siren. And as for me, I am the Turtle Dork. And with that, I'm out.